Hello, my creeplings. Um, I have been wanting to do a review discussion about this film for a very long time. But this is going to be a wild ride, guys. This one is for all my peeps over at the Ted Raimi Appreciation Society over on Twitter. And any Ted Raimi fans out there. I'm just going to get this over with. We're talking about Skinner today. This review is not going to be for everybody. If you guys thought I was bad during the Ash vs. Evil Dead Season 2 review, when it came to Chet, you guys are not going to want to watch this, or you're going to want to watch it and have a huge laugh. Girl, I had to fan myself more than a few times. This is about my 17th time watching this movie since I finally sat down and watched it last year. I have a very weird, I don't want to say history with this movie because I have no real history with it. But I can remember as far back, let's see, this movie was released stateside in 95, so it's 15. I'll say somewhere in high school when I really started getting into horror movies. At my local video store, I would pick this video up quite a bit because of the cast list. But I never bit down on it because, and I am ashamed to say this, I didn't think Ted could pull it off. Now, mind you, at this point in my life, I'm a teenager. The only two things I had really ever seen him in were Sequest DSV and Xena Warrior Princess. So he played a scholarly, nerdy, quiet, soft communications officer in a drama, action-adventure drama, and he played the doof. The goofy himbo, as some of the fandom are starting to call him now, sidekick in an action-adventure fantasy. I did not think this man could pull off a serial killer. I'm happy to say I was dead wrong, but it took me a while to get there. So let's consult the notes, of which there are many. And I'm sorry. This is going to be one of those where y'all are just going to feel free to call me out on this. If y'all think people gush over him as Travis Hackett in The Quarry, this might be right up there or worse than some of those super simpers. Okay, so this movie is called Skinner. It was directed by, it looks like the name would be pronounced Ivan Nagy. Now, it is Yvonne Nagy, according to Ted. And I know this because we were at the HorrorCon and we sat in on the Raimi Boys panel and someone had asked him about Skinner and he pronounced the name. So I'm going with Ted's pronunciation. It is Yvonne Nagy. Now, I'm not going to get into it in here, but apparently the director was one of Heidi Fleiss's, the Hollywood Madam, one of her either clients or friends or something. And there was some wild shit that happened with him during this time frame that I had read. I cannot remember if it was Dread Central or whatnot. It was one of those. It kind of maybe bled into the production a little bit. But this was written by Paul Hart Wilden. Greg Littlewood was a cinematographer, and between him and the lighting guy, brilliant. This was released at a film festival in Milan in 1993, but it wasn't released stateside until 1995. So this is what I lovingly refer to as the lovable dork era of Ted, or actually this is what I call this is the Tim era of Ted, based on his Sequest character, Tim O'Neill. He's got that adorable dork thing going on. So, this is kind of listed, it's definitely an independent film, listed as a splatter sleaze gore film. It is definitely, you gotta know what you're going into with this movie, and hopefully by the time I'm done, the fans who have not seen this yet have an idea of what they're walking into. But we have a pretty decent cast list. We don't have a huge cast. The three biggest names, of course, are Ted, who plays our main character, Dennis Skinner. Ricky Lake, at the height of the talk show era, Ricky Lake, as one of our main characters, Carrie Tate. Her husband is played by Richard Schiff. Or, excuse me, David Warshofsky, plays Jeff Tate, her husband. Richard Schiff plays Eddie, the security guard at Dennis's job. And we have Tracy Lords from John Waters' Crybaby. Poor thing had a porn past. We're not going to talk about that. You can look all that sort of details up on the internet. But Tracy Lords plays Heidi. Now, the Wikipedia synopsis is very short. Dennis Skinner is a likable, decent-looking lad who, driven by a disturbing childhood, moonlights as a Skid Row slasher. He preys on sex workers and some co-workers. He punishes those he finds offensive by flaying his victims. On his trail is Heidi, who is a junkie prostitute who survived one of his attacks, and she's now out to get him. That is the shortest, shittiest description of this movie ever. It does not even give you a taste of the insanity that was committed to celluloid. So, I took my own notes. 3 pages to be exact. Now, granted, some of this is because I had big handwriting and was writing quickly. But so we open with Heidi and her little voiceover. Now, Heidi, for some reason, mostly speaks in this whispered overtone. I don't know if it's because she has vocal damage or if they were going for a thing there. So I will warn you, you will be jogging your volume quite a bit if you do not have access to subtitles. If you do, please pay attention because you might miss some stuff otherwise. But she's like, you're a creature of habit. He'll be back. I'm going to find you and I'm going to stop you. So we cut in between this and we cut between Heidi and Dennis. I'm just going to say Dennis being Dennis. He's got a victim. Trussed up. Again, you're going to see boobs in this. We're talking about prostitutes and sex workers here. But for those of you who are in the... Okay, I got to cool down. Damn, girl, calm down. We get a lot of shirtless Ted in probably his prime. I did not know. Whew. I told you this was going to be ridiculous. I did not know he was so sculpted underneath. I just expected kind of a skinny, I don't want to say twink, but definitely a slender man without much definition. But I don't know if the boy worked out or if he was just like that, but decent pecs, nice arms, nice flat stomach. Okay, head back in the game, Melanie. Whew. Okay, so yeah, he has a victim. And it cuts back and forth. Now, The effects in this were done by K&B Effects. They are very good. And the lighting, again, Greg Littlewood, director of photography. I forgot to write the lighting guy's name down, but their use of red and blue lighting during Dennis being Dennis moments really kind of heightens the surrealism of it. It's just, there's a lot of us who now think of blue lit Ted or red lit Ted in a whole new way. Oh my God, I'm embarrassing myself, but you know what? I don't care. I really don't care. You're also going to notice there is a lot of water symbology, and it's never really fully explained. And I don't know if this was something that ended up on the cutting room floor or was only a half-baked idea. I would love to know more about it, though. So, anybody who was involved in this movie, if this somehow finds its way to you, please explain, because I'm a little lost on the water symbology here. They filmed in LA, so they filmed in the LA River, which basically is any more of a trickle of a stream down some concrete culverts from what I've been able to piece together, and everything that's ever been filmed in the LA River. So we eventually go to Carrie and Jeff. Now, Jeff is a long haul trucker. He's hardly ever home. They're quite obviously broke. They live in this very old, I'm going to say Victorian era home that is really in disrepair. She's trying to rent a room out to get some extra income in, but no one's looked at it. Until Dennis walks into her life. Quite literally walked in the front door because it was open, and he's looking to rent a room. Now, Dennis portrays himself as a very decent, shy, kind of awkward, dorky young man. I know Ted was in his, I think, mid-20s, maybe late 20s at this point. So he's got that kind of sweetness about him, you know, but the way he delivers lines and some of the mannerisms, they're still a little off-putting. Like, you're not sure if he really is that awkward or if it's just a put-on. You get to really realize that Dennis is a little off, but he might be harmless. Carrie's so willing. They need the money. So she's, you know, you're the only one who's looked at the room. What do you say? And he's like, okay, yeah, this sounds great. You do find out that he used to rent a room from a woman, but she died. So yeah. Throughout all of this, you're going to see, you know, Dennis during the day with Carrie being sweet, awkward, little odd duck Dennis. But then we cut to Dennis doing what Dennis does. He basically hunts prostitutes by night, and he skins them. At first, you don't realize he's skinning them. His first victim that we actually see him interact with, he's like, are you for sale? She's like, yes. He hands her the money. Can I call you Carrie? So we're starting to notice maybe a little interest in Carrie on Dennis's end starting. So, and Heidi keeps getting interjected into the narrative. Now, Heidi is his only victim to survive that we know of. She is badly scarred. She is a drug addict on morphine, probably for pain management. And she checks into this flea bag motel because she has followed Dennis to whatever town this is. She limps. She's scarred very badly. It's bad. So again, we go back to Dennis in his life with Carrie. Now, he does, like, I think the first or second night, he does something a little weird Once Carrie's gone to bed in the middle of the night, he drops his pants. Now, I think they're trying to allude to the fact that he's naked, but you clearly see some boxer short waistband there. And he just stands in front of her door and leans on it. And like, this is where Ted really started to disturb me with this performance. So we're seeing like I'm guessing early indications of an obsession with Carrie going. Now Dennis has ingrained himself there for a little while. Jeff finally comes home. And eventually gets introduced to Dennis. Now, you find out Jeff is just a huge dick. Jeff is gruff, and Jeff's just an asshole. I think the only reason Carrie's probably still married to him is she's financially trapped, to be honest, because he seems like he doesn't care. She even says later, whenever you are home, you're never home, and whenever you are home, all we do is fight. She's trying to save a marriage that probably shouldn't be saved. But yeah, as we see him, you get that kind of nerdy, dorky, awkward Dennis, and then he gets the second prostitute, and it kind of flips back and forth between the Dennis that we've been seeing to this forceful, kinky. It's this. I know it's supposed to be unnerving dichotomy, but it's okay. I'm just gonna say it. The forceful Dennis is kind of hot. I mean, if he wasn't a serial killer. I can't believe I just said that. Actually, I can. So he ties her to the bed and he says, I'm going to go change. Keep your eyes closed until I tell you not to open them up. Well, she opens them up at the wrong time and screams, and he breaks her neck. Now, this is the first indication you see that he's wearing his old victims, because he's got these, it's like Buffalo Bill all over again. You see him wearing the former victim's hands, because Ted does not have nails that long, and his skin is not that gnarly. So, yeah, you're starting to get an idea of exactly how disturbed Dennis is. I mean, so again, we're flashing back and forth between the two. Carrie gets a little suspicious because she finds blood on one of Dennis's towels, but he smooths it over. He's like, no, I'm a hemophiliac. I had a small cut. It looks worse than it was. So she had her moment of being suspicious, and he charmed her right over. The only mention we get of Dennis's thought process with this water obsession / symbology, I really wish they would have delved into this more. He likes the way the light plays off of it and how it's always changing, which leads into the weirdest drink of water from a glass I have ever seen in a film. He starts looking for a job. He gets a job as a janitor at a factory, and he finds this unused kind of hidden room in the factory, which he turns into what I'm going to call his murder shack or his kill shack. The blue lighting throughout this whole thing was just stunning. I know I'm going to keep going back to this lighting, but it's one of the more striking visual parts of the storytelling. We have a scene in the kitchen where Carrie's trying to prepare dinner. If you can, listen to the radio broadcast. They're doing the news on the radio. It kind of gives you an idea of exactly what Dennis has been up to in the past, up until this point. He, at this point, is charming his way into her life. They have a little moment where he helps her with skinning the nastiest looking chicken. It's all the feet on it. Wash your hands. That's all I'm gonna say is wash your hands. Ugh. And then we go back within this scene. You know, he charms her by dancing with her in the kitchen. She's letting her walls down. Just definitely not something she should have done. Dennis is a charmer. It's just like, oh, dance with me, baby. Seems light on his feet, which makes me wonder. We cut to him listening at her door again in the middle of the night. She gets a call from Jeff, and he's like, I miss you. He's trying to make up for being a dick from, long distance. And it's like, how often does Dennis stand in front of her door at night? Again, the creep factor. Now, Heidi finally does find Dennis, and she almost stops a kill. At this point, he's not asking to buy these ladies time. He's outright stalking them again. He's getting bolder and more violent each time they show a kill. Heidi almost stops it, but he doubles back, knocks her out. I don't know why he didn't just kill her. I don't know why he didn't just kill her and leave her there. But he takes the prostitute that he had slit her throat, takes her back to the kill shack. There's a speech about his father, when his mother died and his father doing his mother's post-mortem. It explains a lot. And this is where we figure out he's going full Buffalo Bill and making suits out of his victims. There's a point, and again, this is so confusing to feel this way, where he says something like, this truly is clothing for the divine soul, and oh my God, he licks his lips, and I should not find that attractive, because he's wearing a lady's skin. I know it's special effects, but I'm just like, God damn, Dennis, stop being this way. So we're going back to Heidi again. Now, the manager of this Fleabag hotel is obsessed with Heidi. He's spying on her through holes in the wall, through the eyes of the picture on her wall and all that stuff. And we see this a couple times. Jeff comes back, finally, after the phone call at 4 a.m., trying to be all romantical and everything while Dennis is gone. And it seems to work for a little while, but he has to go away again. We cut to Dennis at work. Now, this is the most controversial point of contention with the movie. Dennis has a altercation with one of his coworkers, Earl. Now, Earl's a black man. And Earl's like, why are you always grinning? You always remind me of those people up at the loony bin that were there when I went to go visit my grandmother. People who grin like you must all be fucking crazy. I'm paraphrasing a lot. So, he pisses Dennis off. So, who's Dennis's next victim? Earl. If they had just cut it at that, it probably wouldn't have been as bad. And I have not gotten a hold of this interview yet, but I'm told since Severin released a Blu-ray, like a special edition anniversary Blu-ray, they went back and interviewed people involved with this, and one of them was Ted. And they talked about this particular blackface scene. Basically, he's running around wearing Earl, and he's gone, how do I say this and still be sensitive but get the point across? He's gone full ghetto with the Earl character. Now, from what I understand, again, I have not seen this interview. I'm hoping to get a hold of the Blu-ray to watch the interview. Ted says he wouldn't do that now. He kind of felt like he had to at the time. I mean, I guess young, starving actor. I think he did this before he got his regular gig on Sequest, and it was released after Sequest had its first 2 seasons. So he says he wouldn't do it now, so I'm willing to cut him some slack. Things were a different time then. He's not proud of it, so I'm going to leave it at that. Like I said, I'm hoping to. If anybody's got a link to that interview, or wants to send me a copy of it, if I can't get a hold of that Blu-ray anytime soon, please feel free to do so. Well, while he's running around in the Earl, like, he's like out and about in a dark alley, just earling it up, I guess is the verb I'm going to use now. He gets a bonus victim because this girl has a fight with her boyfriend and gets out of the car. So he's chasing her as Earl, manages to get her dispatched. I mean, he's really escalating at this point, and it's getting crazier and crazier and more psychotic. It's disturbing. He almost gets caught by the guard dog from the factory, though, with the security guard that he's somewhat friendly with has a guard dog. But he slides that dog a piece of Earl, and the dog eats. It's ridiculous. He comes home still wearing Earl in the middle of the night. Carrie's half asleep. Nah, maybe not quite half asleep. Like, she woke up and she's laying there next to Jeff. Obviously, they had relations. But it almost looks like she's kind of thinking it over. Well, she hears Dennis, or she thinks she hears Dennis. He goes straight to the bathroom, takes the Earl suit off, and start, like, completely bloody. And this is where the Ted thirst shows back up again, because we get a shot of bloody Ted in the bath, and there's just part of me that just wanted that camera to pan lower, but I knew it wasn't going to happen. Still got a oh, yeah, here we go again. Still getting a rise out of me. That chest. Oh my God. I gotta get my head back in the game here. She never really enters the bathroom. She knocks. He pretty much ignores her. She goes back to bed. So my question is how did he get the Earl suit out? I mean, he had to have been cleaning that bathroom forever. And then there's the Earl suit. How does he get it out? But I think there's a hint later. Jeff, okay, even though they had a wonderful evening the night before and he came home all romantical and everything, Jeff's a dick the next morning. And basically, on his way out the door, he alludes to Carrie cheating on him with Dennis. He's like, yeah, you live with him. Well, it happens. Dennis goes to her late at night. Well, when he gets home from work, she's in a bad mood. She's in a sad mood, I should say, not bad mood. And she's like, I'm just not feeling anything tonight. I'm going to go to bed. Well, he goes to her later, and it's alluded that they have relations. So the next day, he's wandering through the Los Angeles River again. I wonder if Ted got swamp foot from all this shit. He's walking around in Converse, ankle deep, shin deep in water. And he's talking to himself. He's giving this speech, like, along the lines of, Carrie, last night was, what happened the other night was beautiful. But I don't know if, this is our time, if this is the time for it. So obviously he thinks he's in love with her. He's like, I just really want to show you the real me. So obviously he's thinking this through. He's got an obsession going. And while he's doing this, Heidi has found him and is spying on him. But Heidi has been followed by the sleazy hotel manager, who's like, okay, so this is the guy you're obsessed with. So he follows Dennis. She gets back to the hotel. The hotel manager's waiting for her. Basically, it boils down to, I want you, and I know you want this information. Well, she gets the information, and she leaves him in a bloody heap in her room. While this is happening that night, Dennis comes home in a skin suit to show Carrie the real him. And she freaks out, and he mocks her by doing the same kind of screaming. And it goes to black, but we find out he takes her to the kill shed, the kill room, whatever you want to call it. Heidi shows up at the Tate house, Jeff and Carrie's house, finds it empty. Jeff comes home, finds Heidi. They figure out Carrie's gone and they go to find her. Dennis has Carrie trussed up in the murder shack, and he's just unloading his emotions on her and getting increasingly unstable and violent. Like, he's screaming at her about her and Jeff talking about him behind his back and all that. And again, it's like, I should not be attracted to this man, but he's there shirtless. He's yelling, and every time he yells, he tenses his stomach, and you see the six pack. He pops his bicep, and I'm just sitting here, oh my God, this movie is sending me so many mixed signals. But we're in the home stretch. We are in the home stretch. When they get to the factory, Heidi drugs Jeff, and she's like, Dennis Skinner is mine. Serious one-track mind on this bitch. Heidi finds Dennis. She finds the murder shack. And there is this, I wrote gleefully insane cat and mouse chase in the murder shack with those two. She starts throwing his knives at him. And he tells her, like, I don't like it when you touch my tools. You know it drives me crazy. Stop. It's like they're having a lover's spat. I'm almost wondering if she wasn't a full-on prostitute when they hooked up, but he tried to have a relationship with her. Because she's got, like, a photograph of him. Like, there was something more than just Working Girl and John going on. And again, I would have loved some of that to have been explained better. Did it get cut from the script? Again, anybody who can find this information, please give it to me. The security guard finds Jeff half drugged out at the gate. He grabs his shotgun, the security guard does, and he finds the murder shack and Dennis and Heidi. Well, Heidi had gotten a few good shots, punches in, and Ted's a better physical actor than you would think. He sold it very well. And if I'd have seen this before watching Xena, I wouldn't have been so surprised at the beatings he took on that show. She got a good slash in. The security guard just opens fire. He gets Dennis in the leg. He gets Heidi in several body shots. Heidi had already cut Carrie down, and Carrie's a whimpering mess on the floor. As Heidi's laying there dying, and Dennis is laying there, in pain, she's like, how does it feel? Now you know how we felt. And he's like, well, I felt better. And as she's just laying there dying, he's like, you know what, though? You know what's going to happen to me? They love people like me. They're going to take me to the hospital. They're going to do a few tests on me. And a few years later, after I get really bored, they're going to let me go because they love people like me. They're going to think I'm cured. Doesn't it just make you want to scream? And that's what we end on. I cannot believe this movie has got me so, I'm just going to say it, turned on and so disgusted at the same time. It's like, every time I see Dennis handle a knife, I'm like, oh my God, look at the way they shot his hands. Oh, his hands are so beautiful. The shirtless Ted. Okay, Melanie, breathe. You gotta breathe your way through this. So some of the behind the scenes, and I'm wondering if that's why some of this, what feels like should have been key story points, Heidi and Dennis's backstory needed to be fleshed out. The whole water obsession needed to be fleshed out. I'm wondering if because of the whole Heidi Fleiss thing with Yvonne Nage and the troubles that brought, if it was left, if it wasn't even filmed, I think explaining those two things a little bit more would have made this movie a little, I don't want to say a little more interesting. It's interesting as fuck to begin with. Explain a little more. It would make things sit better, I guess. I mean, it leaves you wondering a few less. It might actually leave you wondering a few more things, but it would answer a few of my questions. Now, Ted has said that he actually researched the difference between sociopaths and psychopaths for this and went for the psychopath route. Like, let's see, I'm going to misquote this. But again, somebody had asked him about Skinner at the Horror Con, and he said, like, he went to the library and checked out books and read them on people. Like, I believe they said that he was, read up on real life serial killers like John Wayne Gacy, Ed Gein, and Ted Bundy. So, like, I can definitely see the Ted Bundy references, although Ted Bundy was supposed to be a lot more charismatic from what I understand, but very seemingly normal guy, and then does what he did. Dennis, very seemingly normal dorky guy, skins prostitutes and wears their skins. Pulling a whole Buffalo Bill there, like I keep using as an example. So Ted did his research. I gotta ask, I think one thing I would ask him is, did that kind of mess you up for a while mentally? Other notes. This was only filmed over the course of 2.5 weeks. You can tell it was boom, 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 done. This was never released in VHS or DVD in Australia, so I'm assuming they put this on their Video Nasties list. It has two versions. It's almost not worth it to watch the R-rated version from what I understand. I have the unrated. I have a copy of the unrated. Because they went and cut the gore down. And in doing so, they also did cut some of Dennis's speech about his father. Which I guess makes things a little weird. Like I said, Ted is very hot in this movie, and it makes me feel some very, very strange things, because I know I should not be turned on while I'm watching a movie of this subject matter, but holy jeez, they knew just how to shoot him to get to get my attention. The performance from Ted was definitely not something I was used to from him, and I'm very impressed. He's only ever done a lead role in 2 movies. This one and Lunatics: A Love Story, which is a dramatic comedy. I know he considers himself a character actor and likes to do the cameo level stuff and the small stuff because, again, I'm sorry, Ted, if you ever get a hold of this. I hope not. I sincerely hope this never makes it to your screen. But if I'm misquoting you, I'm sorry. But from what I understand, the gist of it is he'd rather play someone that the action happens to than be the driving force behind all the action, which is what he equates doing a lead for. But Ted, you've got the chops to do it. And I know there's a handful of us, large handful of us, that definitely would love to see you do more like this. I know you've kind of moved on to more writing and directing, and that's great. Maybe we could see a short form where you are the lead in that you also write and or direct, or you could use a tour de force and do all 3. Because I really like seeing you front and center. It's a treat. And no, you don't have to run around topless. Although that was definitely a bonus in this one. Gotta cool myself down again. So, for all my Raimi stands out there, there's a handful of you that I know have got thoughts on this movie. Tell me all the sordid thoughts, all the crazy details of the first time you watched this, and what you kind of go through if you watch it again, how many times have you seen it? Like I said, I think this is like my 17th time this year. I was very impressed, Ted. I was very impressed with Ricky Lake. She kind of hit that loneliness feeling right on the head. Now, Tracy Lords, on the other hand, I think this is more of a criticizing of the way the character was written. Because Tracy Lords is a pretty decent actress. I loved her in Crybaby. Was it First Wave she was in on Sci-Fi for a while? I've seen her do other things. She's a pretty solid actress. This kind of felt a bit one note. And maybe, that, like I said, this could have been the character. And the whisper talk thing was kind of, I'm going to say, off-putting. It was hard to pay attention to her. So, yeah, Skinner's very sleazy. It's very gory. It is very much a niche film. But if you like that kind of stuff, if you want to see the K&B effects group do their thing, if you want to see one of Ted's two, if you're a Ted Raimi fan, you have to watch this. I'm sorry, you have to. If you haven't yet, you need to. If you have, again, I want all the thought process, all the feedback. If you don't feel comfortable putting it publicly, you may DM me all you want. But, yeah, definitely. Oh, God, there I go again, thinking about shirtless Ted. Yeah, I'm going to end it there. Please watch Skinner. Please give it the love it deserves. And if you are a Ted girl, and if you definitely liked him during his dork era, his nerdy boy era, yeah, be prepared to be fighting with yourself when it comes to how you're reacting. You know you shouldn't. Dennis is a monster. Dennis is like, he's evil. He's like almost evil incarnate. Yet it's in the body of a young Ted Raimi, and you're just like, I cannot help it. I cannot help it at all. I'm going to be really, really embarrassed if this ever ends up on his desk. But by the same token, I'm not that type of person that's going to sugarcoat things. And yeah. I need to go take a really cold shower now. Yeah, I need to take a really, really cold shower now. So, please, let me know what you think. Talk amongst yourselves in the comments. Talk to me in the comments. Call me out for being crazy, for being a simp. I'm a very simple girl, and I realized exactly how simple I was when I was watching this movie. So I'm just gonna say goodnight, my creeplings. And I'll see you next time. I'm gonna go take a cold shower. Bye.